Hey everyone, it's Dr. Zora here and welcome to another SkillCapped guide. Today we're going to be reviewing the top 5 reasons you're not improving in Valorant. Many players believe that if you put in the hours, you'll eventually get better and rise up the ranks. While experience is certainly important and will likely help you get better, what is even more critical is what those hours consist of and how you're approaching the game each time you play. I've seen too many players that even play daily for hours on end but haven't made any progress because of these mistakes. By the end of this guide, you'll have learned the 5 most common reasons players don't improve and what you can do to make sure your play stays on a positive trajectory. But before we get into that, we're excited to announce our brand new hyper improved platform specifically designed to help you improve fast. At SkillCapped.com, you'll finally learn how to level up your aim, different techniques to win gunfights, and so much more. We have professional courses on every single agent, map, and mechanic in Valorant. This is backed up by the top pros, players, and coaches to make sure you're getting the most up-to-date and accurate information possible. In fact, we're so confident that you'll improve using our system that we offer a rank improvement guarantee. Check it out yourself in the link below. Simply put in what rank you're currently at and find out what rank you're guaranteed by using our system. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your true potential and get the rank you've always wanted at SkillCapped.com, link in the description below. Alright, enough with the hype, let's jump right into the video. Jumping right into it, one of the top reasons players struggle to improve in Valorant is because they are too focused on their aim. In fact, many players are completely obsessed with trying to get their aim better and better. While working on aim is certainly one of the most important aspects of Valorant, it's all too often that players tend to forget the other pieces of the game. They become hyper focused on trying to run around and win aim duels against enemies while forgetting about everything else. These other pieces include, but are not limited to, how to use your agent's abilities, how to gain map control, strategical play, positioning, and team communication. By only working on your aim in Valorant, you've only practiced one part of the puzzle and have disregarded everything else that is necessary to become a complete player in Valorant. To give you an example of what this may look like, a player who solely practices their aim will never use their abilities or rely on communication or tactical strategic map play. Instead, they run around the map hunting for raw aim duels, hoping that by doing so, they'll improve their aim and become quote-unquote a better player. For example, on the A side of Bind, they'll charge up at the very start of the round, trying to find fights as much as they can. They'll peek A short, U-haul, then proceed towards the site itself, up to heaven, towards shower and spawn, and so forth. Essentially, the only thing this kind of aim-focused player knows to do is peek enemies over and over. Now, a more experienced player who has practiced their aim but has took the time to learn other aspects of Valorant, such as how to use their agent's abilities, will actually aim way better than the person who spent hundreds of more hours on their aim but neglected those other aspects. For example, even if you're facing an enemy who has better aim than you, if they don't know how to use abilities and you do, you have a much better shot of killing them. If you're playing Phoenix and hear enemies approaching your choke point, knowing that this is a good time to throw a flash to blind all of them and get a few picks will be much more successful than trying to just out-aim multiple players at once. No matter how good the other player's aim is, it's irrelevant if they only know how to aim and are not aware of you potentially flashing them at this point, and you've got yourself an easy kill. I would take a player with slightly worse aim that has practiced other aspects of Valorant and understand the game at a global level versus a player who has fantastic aim but doesn't comprehend how to play out rounds or give themselves an edge in a fight to supplement that aim. Therefore, I highly suggest players who have been putting in time into their aim to split that time up and put some of it into learning other areas such as how to communicate better or create strategical plays. Next up, many players struggle to improve in Valorant because they don't review their gameplay. In the heat of a match, you're likely focused on what's going on in the moment and end up playing the game the way you've habitually been playing it. This makes it very difficult to identify what you did well in the match along with what you did poorly on and could have made improvements at. This then makes it hard to make changes to your game for the better. Perhaps you're struggling to get a kill in a certain match. It can be easy to get frustrated and point the blame on being unlucky or the other player just out-aiming you every time. One thing I see many players do is that they'll repeatedly play each round the exact same way and get caught out or lose an engagement the exact same way for the entire half. Meanwhile, these players still end up questioning what's going wrong, and it's only through reviewing your own gameplay that you can find out these habits and errors in your play. For example, you may not notice that you have a habit of pushing that same area every single round. You may be challenging a player at U-haul every round on Bind from the right side of a short, you dry peek that area, and you end up getting killed over and over again in the same fashion. In this case, it's not that you can't get a kill against the entire enemy team, it's just this one player that you're struggling with and you aren't adapting by playing a new position or challenging other areas of the map. If the drive peek from the right side wasn't working, perhaps a peek from the left side could be sufficient to catch him off guard and win the next round. Likewise, if you have abilities such as smokes and flashes, it'd be a good idea to utilize those to block off the U-Haul player so that you can push onto A, or to chuck a flash onto the U-Haul player to force him or her to back off, and if they decide to peek again, you'll have the edge since you have your crosshair aimed and ready for the peek. Even if players know they need to switch their play up, they may not consciously realize that they aren't actually doing this in game. So make sure to review your gameplay and jot down what went wrong in the match, but also jot down what went right. If you were able to get multiple frags or a big clutch, you want to try to identify what you did to achieve those plays. Maybe you had good information on enemy locations, or you got a really good flash off after hearing footsteps, or your aim and positioning was really on point that round and you were able to isolate players and win the 1 vs 1 fights. Once you get this information, think of ways that you can keep the good habits as well as ways you can change the bad habits and plays to improve. Best thing about this is that there really isn't a wrong or right answer to reviewing your gameplay and how to correct those mistakes. Try different approaches out, and if they don't work, you change it again until it does work. But the first step is actually reviewing your VODs to find out what part of your game looks good and what part could use some tweaks. Transitioning into the third reason that players don't end up improving in Valorant is that several players don't end up developing a playstyle or a role. They think that Valorant is one-dimensional and played in only one way, when this is really not the case at all. Every player has certain habits that portray their playstyle and role that they may best be suited for. Identifying these habits is key to learning how you like to play Valorant and which agents may be best suited for you to play that certain style. To simplify things down, there are 3 types of playstyles that you may fit in. You may be an aggressive player, supportive player, or strategical player. An aggressive player may be one who's very confident in their aim and likes to push in first to try to create openings for your team to take a site. If this is the case, you may want to play duelists such as Phoenix, Reyna, Jett, and Raze. These agents have abilities that allow you to play aggressively and frag out to give your team an edge. If you're someone that prefers to stay back and assist the team with abilities, then agents such as Sage, Brimstone, or Sova may be good agents for you. These agents have abilities that can help your team out without having to specifically engage in fight after fight to make an impact. You can stay more defensively and use abilities such as Recon Bolt, Smokes, Slow Orbs, and Barrier Orbs to stall enemies on defense or help set up your team for a site take. Last but not least, if you're a strategical player and like to make shot calls for the team or set up tactical plays, then playing an agent such as Killjoy or Cypher can be monumental to achieving this playstyle. These agents allow you to set up abilities onto a site on defense or to use abilities to gather information on attack. You'll be relying more on these abilities to create plays, and thus you'll be getting into less direct aim duels, which gives yourself more free time to look at the map, create those calls for your team on how to approach a site or defend a site or choke point. Do note that the agents listed in each playstyle category are not comprehensive, and that there are many agents that can fulfill multiple roles depending on how you play them and utilize their ability kit. If you can identify your playstyle and select agents that help you play that certain style, you'll find yourself having much more success versus playing different agents with completely different abilities, resulting in you playing a style that you aren't familiar with. This then leads you to underperforming and not playing the optimal way for you. Continuing to the fourth reason players don't improve in Valorant is having a poor mentality. I've seen many players unfortunately fall under this habit. When you aren't performing well in a match, it can be easy for you to get frustrated. As a result, you start to feel down on yourself and lose confidence in your ability to win out rounds, grab frags, and make plays for your team. If your mental state goes down, so will your actual in-game performance. Another big example of when I see players fall into this poor mentality is when they are playing with random players in solo queue or have a habit of trying to find flaws within their teammates rather than themselves. It can be very easy to backseat game someone and identify all the flaws that a particular player is potentially making. Many players can easily find things to critique others on because they're so focused on judging every small thing that they do, but they don't do the same thing about their own gameplay to try to find their own flaws. The player is trying to find excuses apart from their own play that gives him or her a rationale for why they are losing rounds or losing the match as a whole. With a poor mentality, they find something external to blame instead before and during the match, such as their teammates, high ping, or an enemy seemingly hacking. This already puts them in a position to make these internal thoughts come to fruition in the game. You get one tap instantly and immediately think it's hacks, or you see a one tiny mistake from your teammate and start to think that one mistake costs the entire game. These things can certainly have some truth to it, but even if they do, they don't address the core way of improving, which is focusing on yourself. Whether your teammates are good or bad, if you consistently improve your own play, you'll be able to make up for any lack of skill from a particular player. So next time you're about to enter a game, think positively that you're going to play well, your teammates will be good or at least carryable, and that you'll win the game. If a round is lost or you got killed, your first thought should go into what went wrong with your play and then make some micro or macro adjustments to go into the next round with the right mindset. Lastly, the fifth reason that many players end up struggling to improve in Valorant is that they don't set goals for themselves. At the very beginning of this video, we talked about players who put in hours into Valorant, but they play without a particular goal in mind. Without any goals, it's hard to take steps forward into getting better at Valorant. For example, an area that you're struggling with could be being shy and not communicating with your team enough. If that is the case, a good goal to make going into your next game is to make sure you talk once or twice during a match. Don't make the goal something too drastic, as it'll make it appear far too difficult to achieve. Start small and then bump your way up. You gave 1 to 2 comms one game, now bump it up to 3 to 4 comms the next, and work your way up so that you give some kind of communication every round you play. Another big example I want to mention that many players again have their focus on is aiming. Setting aim goals is crucial to actually improving. For example, if you are consistently getting a certain score in aim labs or training range, try to bump up that score every couple of days. If you've been consistently getting 15 on medium, try to work on aiming faster and getting a score of 16 to 17 the next. You'll find yourself trying to aim faster, which may end up getting you a lower score initially, but then you'll get used to that speed and be able to eventually hit the score goal that you had, in which you can then create another greater goal for you to achieve. Setting these goals are good for tracking progress and giving motivation and direction for how you approach playing Valorant. If you're a player that is playing for hours on end and can't improve, setting goals would be a great way to start taking those baby steps towards getting better. And remember, if you want to improve, win more gunfights, and get the rank you've always wanted, then check out SkillCapped.com, link in the description below. Alright, so what bad habit do you find yourself falling into when you play Valorant? Let us know in the comment section below, and while you're down there, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get more premium guides just like this one with one goal in mind, helping you become a better player. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next. I'm Dr. Zora, and good luck out there.